All right, so welcome back to my series on astrological ascendants and the house system. So, this is a video on the Virgo ascendant. The last one I did was Leo ascendant earlier in the night, and this is the Virgo ascendant. So, if you're new to this channel, what is the ascendant sign? The ascendant sign is the sign that was rising in the eastern horizon at the moment you were born. So, if you were being born and the sign on the eastern horizon coming up was, let's say, 10 degrees Virgo, because the degree matters, we'll get into why later, you would be a Virgo ascendant. So, the ascendant maps out the entire house system. Each house relates to an area of your life, and if you can calculate the ascendant, you can calculate where all the other signs are, and based on what sign is in what house position, this gives these areas of your life that these houses correspond to a particular meaning over the course of your life. So, your first house deals with your goals and ambitions, your second house deals with your food, money, and pleasures, and third house deals with your communication, all the way around to 12th house dealing with your isolation, spirituality, and sort of inner world. So, what is the Virgo ascendant? What does it mean when you have Virgo in the first house in your natal chart? So, what this means, first and foremost, is that since the first house corresponds to Aries, and Aries always represents your goals and ambitions, and Virgo represents your ability to analyze information and think critically and plan out your day and make a routine and attend to practical matters. That becomes the focus of your life, is to basically have a routine that makes you healthy and capable and in shape. And so these people do tend to struggle with fitness early in their lives because, if your routine is already perfect, what's the point in learning on it? You're here to learn how to take care of your physical body and your physical health and your diet and your ability to judge good ideas from bad ideas. So that is your goal in this life if you're a Virgo ascendant. Now, the quality and the nature of the ideas that you're going to be interested in analyzing and correcting is determined by the position of your Mercury. So if your Mercury's in Sagittarius, you're going to be more interested in one belief system at a time, like a philosophy or religion or science, like biology or physics or something, or Christianity or Islam. You're going to be really interested in analyzing and criticizing one thing. But if your Mercury's in Gemini, you're going to be a lot more open to new ideas and analyzing like all ideas rather shallowly. So this depends. So your second house, if you're a Virgo ascendant, is very likely to be the sign of Libra. The sign of Libra represents physical beauty. It represents negotiations. So these people's tone of voice and their preferences in their life are geared on negotiating with other people, and they like having one-on-one conversations and one-on-one dialogues, and they tend to dress pretty well, and they tend to dress in a way that is pretty acceptable, socially acceptable and all that, and creative, but fashionable. These people have a pretty good sense of style. The third house of these people is Scorpio. So third house, again, is this typically it corresponds to the sign of Gemini. When you put the Scorpio sign here, these people love talking about deep ideas, deep information. They tend to not be super interested in small talk, and they tend to dig very deep in their small group communication and their research groups. Now, if somebody is interested in small talk and they're a social butterfly Virgo ascendant who talks a lot, they probably have Mars in Sagittarius or Mars in an early degree of Gemini or something, and like a more mutable sign. So then their communication is going to be a little bit more scattered and less direct. But in general, these people tend to have low voices. and they tend to be very direct when they speak, and they tend to want to get to the bottom of almost everything that they talk about in conversation. And they're typically quite bored with the trivial. The fourth house of these people is Sagittarius, and the fourth house is basically what comforts you and what makes you feel secure and happy emotionally as opposed to happy physically, which is Taurus. The fourth house is what makes you feel emotionally happy. These people's fourth house is Sagittarius, so what makes them feel emotionally happy is learning and feeling like they know a lot about one thing at a time. So being an expert on something basically makes them feel emotionally secure. These people's fifth house is Capricorn. And fifth house is your personal creativity and your expression. These people have a hard time with their personal creativity because they're so interested in analyzing stuff that their creativity kind of suffers, especially during the first part of their life. Although they are very interested in it and will get better at that typically, especially if their Saturn is in a sign well suited for artistic things like Leo or Gemini or Libra or something. So, these people's sixth house, this is an important house for the Virgo ascendant because Virgo is the sixth sign of the zodiac from Aries, and the interval of 6 always relates to the things that are Virgo. So 6 from 6 is kind of like Virgo squared. If you remember in my Cancer ascendant video, I said that Cancer was kind of like Taurus squared because Cancer is the second sign from the second house from Aries. So Aries is always considered the first sign of the zodiac, no matter what your ascendant is. So these people's sixth house is Aquarius, and what that means is that Aquarius is considered the higher self of Virgo. And if you pay attention to the meanings of these signs, you can see that because Virgo is about analysis and information. What is Aquarius? Useful information. Information that makes your productivity expand, scientific information, the stuff that Virgo aspires to. So Virgo criticizes information, Aquarius uses information. So these people's their routine comes about trying to find better ways to spend their time. All right. Moving into the interpersonal sector of their chart, 7th through 12th house. The 7th house of these people, which deals with relationships and deals, is Pisces. And these people tend to not care very much about relationships because of that. And when they do get in a relationship, it's usually with somebody who is kind of spiritual. And because they're spiritual, they can be a little bit messy, and that can kind of drive the Virgo person crazy. But they're going to have to learn to deal with that because relationships are always your opposite. So if the Virgo is very neat and obsessed with making everything organized and obsessed with criticizing information and analyzing information and learning new things, the Pisces person is in their head theorizing and imagining things, and because Virgo tends to suffer from a lack of imagination because they're an earth sign and they're very material and physical, even though they are interested in new information, Pisces is the source of ideas. Virgo is the criticism of ideas. So Pisces can chuck out all these ideas, and maybe like 4 out of 5 of them will be wrong, and the Pisces person won't know it because they're just chucking out ideas out of their imagination. And the Virgo person sits there and sort of picks through them and criticizes them. So that is how these two signs interrelate. And they form an axis that ends up generating new, useful ideas. So the 8th house of these people, which represents basically deep research and commitment, is Aries. And these people tend to kind of start off research projects because of this, because Aries is the first sign. It's instigating a new thing, and these people instigate research. So that is where their head is most of the time. These people's 9th house is Taurus. So what this means is Taurus is the sign of preferences and things you enjoy, things that please you. 9th house is the sign of learning, and this comes back to their 4th house being Sagittarius, because it also basically means that they gain both material pleasure and emotional comfort from being an expert, from learning things. These people need to feel like they're the expert on something, like they know what they're talking about, and so that they can preach and teach, and they get their sense of pleasure and their sense of emotional security from that 9th house Sagittarius kind of vibe. These people's 10th house, which is how you spend your time and how you your impact on the world and your reputation. These people's 10th house is Gemini, so through their communication, they can achieve sort of fame in their friend group because they have the useful information and the useful knowledge. Now, it's important for these people to not be fame seeking and focus on the quality of their ideas as opposed to trying to be like the actually guy and try to prove everybody else wrong in their communication, because then they come off as desperate for attention and people won't like them. So that is a very important thing for these people to learn, and they usually learn that pretty early in their life because people will criticize them for it, for trying to like be the center of attention in their friend group and by criticizing everyone. It's irritating. So these people's 11th house is Cancer. So these people sort of view love and comfort and taking care of people as a scientific endeavor. So they feel like if I can just organize my time better, if I can just learn more things, then I will be eventually worthy of love. And these people find emotional comfort quite late because the 11th house is always ruled by Saturn. Technically also ruled by Uranus in the north node of the moon, but Saturn is the main ruler. So the 10th and 11th house signs always come late. Their benefits come later in life after the age of 30. So because these people are typically anxious about their lovableness, they will just try to organize their life so much and be so useful that somebody will eventually love them. And they tend to get that later in their life after the age of 30. These people's 12th house, which represents isolation and spirituality and their dreams, is Leo. And because of this, these people's dreams tend to be very creative, and they tend to have very like colorful dreams and like dreams of like a better future and all that kind of stuff. And they're like, man, if only I could just organize my life perfectly and get everything, my routine spot on, and get the best job and the best health and the best everything, like my six pack and everything, then I could be that Leo character, basically that like creative like genius who has like all the girls and all the love and all the attention and all the money. And that's basically what they want. They want to be like that. So they organize their life around trying to become their higher self aesthetic, and ultimately they do that out of the desire for love. So that is my video on the Virgo Ascendant. And yeah, tune in next time for the Libra Ascendant video. Till then.